Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to UXI-105 Design Technologies. This week, week 4, we are going to discuss Adobe InDesign. So let's go ahead and get started. For today's agenda, we are going to cover the course overview. We are also going to look at week 4. I'm also going to provide you with some resources and reminders. As always, this live session is being recorded, and you can find this live session saved under the announcements, and I will also send you guys the link to this live session. Because our live session for week 4 was not able to be recorded in class, please send your answers to all questions asked in this live session via Canvas for full credit. So let's go ahead and get started. The course overview. So in regards to the course project, we have selected an event that you were asked to select back in week 1, and we are going to continue to create multiple items for that event throughout this course. So again, the goal for the course project is to market an entire event from start to finish and sell your client, which would be us in class later on in this course. And also we are going to combine all the marketing material that you are going to create throughout this course and create a portfolio. So let's jump right into week 4 overview. What is Adobe InDesign? So again, this is a recap of the live session. So please send all of your answers, including this one, to me so you can receive full credit. Here's the first question. Rate your experience in Adobe InDesign. I just want to gauge where you fall on a scale, and we can reflect back later on at the end of this course to see where you have gained experience. So, what is your experience in Adobe InDesign? 1, being beginner, and 5, you consider yourself a pro. When to use Adobe InDesign? You would use Adobe InDesign for books, reports, brochures, flyers, and newsletters, interactive PDFs and presentations, master pages, text wraps, table of contents, ebooks, and also digital publishing. Week 4 overview. This week we'll talk about designing with type, images, and grids. You will use Adobe InDesign to create a promotional flyer for your event using the assets you have created so far. As you move throughout this course, think about the audience you are designing for. Who should go to your event and why? Where will your event be located? And is there a dress code or an age restriction? Here are our week 4 objectives. So the topic we're going to discuss is page layout design in Adobe InDesign. We're going to create a unique promotional piece using Adobe InDesign. Utilize page elements such as margins, columns, flow lines, master pages, and gutters. Also, we're going to use a grid variation to lay out a design, as well as combine elements of vector and raster-based imagery. Let's jump into the definitions for page elements. The first definition is margins. Margins is the distance from any side of the edge of a document in which you have content within the layout of your design. So this includes text frames, images, and other content that is incorporated into your design. Margins are shown as a purple box on your document page. The next page element we're going to discuss is columns. Columns help to break up text-heavy designs so that the reader isn't overwhelmed with information. They also improve the overall clarity and balance of your layout. And some examples would be an elegant newsletter or magazine layout with enough space for your content. Flow lines. Flow lines are horizontal lines that break the space into horizontal bands. They can be used to help guide the eyes across the page and can be used to impose starting and stopping points for text and images to be aligned. Some examples are flow maps and flow charts. Master pages. Master pages are considered templates that you use within your document that allows you to reuse layouts, styles, and assets, which thereby saves you time and effort. Also, master pages may include a color scheme that is consistent throughout your document, as well as page numbers, a logo, and the title of your document. This is very important to consider when we are going to talk about creating your flyer for in Adobe InDesign. Lastly, we're going to discuss gutters. The gutters in a page layout separate design elements from one another. Without enough space between the columns and the text or the content on the page, the elements may run together and become difficult to see or read. So let's jump into this next slide, which is a video in which you will get some experience and understanding of all the tools that are used in Adobe InDesign.
Today we're going to take a look at Adobe InDesign and some of the basics that we'll use in order to get started with this program. Hopefully by the end of the video, everybody will know how to create something like this in Adobe InDesign. So when we open our new documents tab, we can see that we can create anything that we want. We can title this, and then this is using Pika's InDesign's own unit system. We can change this into any other system we want. I'm going to go ahead and create a tabloid size page for us. Now we can also change the pages. If we want it to be a booklet, it can be facing pages. And we can also change the margin as well as the bleed down here. For now, I'm just going to create the one page right here. And in order to zoom in and out in Adobe InDesign, it's similar to any other Adobe product. We can press Alt and scroll wheel to zoom in and out. We can also use Control plus or minus. We can pan the camera using the spacebar. And then when we use our mouse to move the screen around, it'll help us pan the camera like that. On the left here, we have some of our tools, our stroke and our fill. On the top, we have the properties to those tools and adjustments. And then on the right here, we have more quick access to additional tools. We're going to go over pages, layers, as well as paragraph style in this tutorial. If you guys don't have any of this on, we can go up here to the windows and turn these on. The paragraph style will be under the styles tab right here. So first thing we're going to go over is the pages. This is something very special to InDesign. It's obviously made for laying out pages for your magazine or poster board or whatnot. So there's always a page menu where you can create more pages by going down here and creating these different pages. They are numbered. You can delete pages like that. But what's special about InDesign is that there's always a master page. So the master page will basically override anything that you assign as its own master page. So for example, in the A master page, if I were to draw a rectangle like this and have it filled in black, it will show up on every single page. So you can click on page 1 or page 2. Now, as you can see, there's a little symbol here that says A. That means it belongs to the A master page family. We can change this by going to apply master page to pages. If we want to change page 1 to none, then we can simply scroll down here and change it to none. And then you can see that page 1 will no longer have the rectangle that A master page has. So just like any other Adobe program, Adobe InDesign will come with layers. Now these are for us to keep our document nice and tidy. You won't see these 3 layers when you just open the layers tab. It will probably just say layer 1. I like to create these 2 because it usually encompasses everything that I want to do in InDesign. In order to create a new layer, you have to go down here, click the new layer icon. You can double click on this to change its name and its color. You can delete the layer here. Now, through these layers, we're able to lock them, so we can't select these objects anymore. We can also hide these so that we can see the other layers more clearly. Now, before we actually start doing anything on our page here, we can go up to layouts, and we can actually create some guides in order to help us keep our drawing neat and tidy. Now, for this case, I'm going to use 4 and 4 for rows and column. I'm going to change the gutter down a little bit just so they look more minimalistic. You can preview the gutter, or not the gutters, the guides here. You can fit it to the margins of the page. Now, we can import some images right away by going over to the rectangle frame tool. and we can actually drag. If I want this picture to fit half the page, I can do that. Now I have the guides, so I know exactly what we're doing here. In order to actually put an image into the frame here, we can basically click on the frame, and then if I have something on desktop, say I want this image inside this frame, I can simply just drag that in and it'll fit right inside this frame. Now if I move first select the frame. If I want to move this frame, I can do that to anywhere inside my page. But if I just want to move the image on the inside of the frame, I can click the circle, and you can see that if I move, that moved the guide. If I move the circle, it'll move the image inside the frame to anywhere that I want it to. Now you can also double click into the frame, and then it'll bring up this brown transformation box. If you hold shift, we can make it smaller and bigger. And yeah, that's basically how we transform our frame as well as our text on the inside. Now there's another way to actually fit the frame into, the picture into the frame. If we click on the frame and then we right click, go down to fitting, we can either fit the frame proportionally or fit the content proportionally. Now if we fit the frame proportionally, it'll basically take one of the maximum sizes of the picture and it'll fit that in the frame. Now you can see that it'll retain its original size, but half of it is basically cut out because of the frame itself. Now, if we go over to fitting and we go to fit content proportionally, it'll fit the entire image into the frame that we give it. Now, because this frame is portrait and the image itself is more landscape, you can see that there's white bars on top and on the bottom. So we're going to go back to the fit frame proportionally and just going to drag the image over. So in order to preview what we have here without the margins as well as the guides, we can press W and it'll remove everything that is kind of temporary on our page, which is a great way to just kind of preview what you have on your page. Now, another way to actually import an image into our document is if we go back to our desktop and I have, say, another image that I want to put down here, I can drag this image in and it'll bring up this small little icon. Now we can create the frame from that icon, but the frame is based on the size of the image. So as you can see, the bottom here, it's bigger than what we have our margins to, but we can simply just cut that out by changing the size of the frame. Okay, now we can also do that with text. So if we just go into our text and then we create a text box up here and say this is our title and I just want to have it as delicious as a title, we can maybe change this into something a little more fancy, country blueprint, and then we can change the size here. We'll give it 72. Now InDesign is also very good for editing text, so we can change many things like how far it is from the next row. We can have it all caps, underline, strike through. This can change the distance between characters. You can also change the horizontal and the vertical scale here. You can change how much it is tilted, so italicized, and this is how much it is offset from the baseline, which is the bottom of the text here. So feel free to play around with this. It's very useful for InDesign. I think it's very InDesign specific as well. You can also change the color here by changing the fill. If I want this to be blue, I can do that. If I want this to have an outline, I can also do that. Outline of red by changing the stroke. So already it has a blue fill and a red outline. Now if I want something on the bottom to serve as like a description, then and maybe I don't have the actual text, then I can actually fill this with placeholder text. So if you just click on the box that you just created, fill with placeholder text, we can change this into different text by pressing Control-Alt for selecting all of that. I'm just going to change this into something a little bit more thin, and then maybe this to 18. So you can already see that we can have placeholder text if we don't actually have what we want to write in here, just to get a general feel of what the page will look like. Now if I do press W and have a preview, we can kind of see that the margin here is a little bit too close. We want to give it a little bit of space. So we can simply just do that by dragging these bounding boxes over here, as well as the frame for the image. And if I just preview that one more time, you can already tell that this might be a page inside a magazine or a food, a blog, anything like that. So in addition, if I want this text to be all of our titles, so if I want all the titles to look like this, I can simply save this as a paragraph style. We can go down to the paragraph styles bar, and if we highlight the characters that we want to save, and we create a new style by going here, it'll bring up this new paragraph style. If I double click into this, and we change the name to say title, it'll basically retain all the information for the highlighted text here. So for example, the country blueprint, the size, spacing, indents, color, everything. And we can basically duplicate this style somewhere else. If I want this paragraph to also be the style, I can click on that and then change this to the same style as that. Now, obviously we don't want that with our body paragraph, so I'm gonna undo that. But that's basically everything that I wanted to cover in order for everyone to get started with InDesign.
So, now that you've seen the video, I'm interested to know, what is your biggest takeaway from the video that we just watched? Because this is a live replay, I would like for you to submit your answers to me directly in the inbox through Canvas. So let's move on to grid variation in regards to your layout design. Grids. Effective grids organize and align the components, providing consistency and cohesiveness to the layout. Grids encourage white space and makes it easier to balance your design. So let's view some examples of grids as well as 6 golden rules of layout design in this next video.
In today's Typographics graphic design tutorial, I'm going to teach you the golden rules of layout design so you can make professional and effective graphic designs. So welcome back to Typographics, and in the first golden rule for layout design, we're going to take a look at negative space, which is sometimes referred to as white space. Now this simply is just the areas on your design that are not taken up by actual design assets or graphics. It can be used to separate sections of your design, define certain areas, and also allow your design to have room to breathe. Now on the first design, I've made sure to make some common mistakes that designers do embark on, and that is to try and fill out the negative space as much as possible by scaling up my text at the bottom here. Also, I've used a logo of sorts to fill the top half. Now doing this makes the design appear too busy and unorganized. Having a clear separation allows the viewer to look at the design more comfortably and also obtain the information very easily. But let's take a deeper look at my revision. So firstly, the logo is neatly added in the top left, and it doesn't fight for attention and overcrowd the design. The blue area is left with a lot of negative space, which does look neat and also organized. Below that, the text is still legible when printed out on an A4 document, yet there is a lot of space to the bottom right, which gives the design and the text some more room to breathe. Allowing your design to have negative space like this clearly creates areas for specific parts of your design, and this makes the viewer feel more at ease when viewing your design and trying to gather the information from the design itself. So finally, the design uses negative space to create the shapes going diagonally from the top right to the bottom left. So be sure to pay close attention to the negative space on your graphic designs, just as much as the actual graphics themselves, if not more so. Negative space in logo designing is often strictly around optical illusions and creating shapes with negative space. If you want to see more about negative space and logo designs, I have a video linked at the end of this one. But secondly, we're now moving on to why proximity is such an important aspect of layout design. And proximity basically suggests that design elements that are linked in some way or have a relationship should be grouped together. Aspects of your design that do not have a link or a relationship should not be linked together in most cases. When used correctly, proximity will structure your design as well as indicate to the viewer certain cues and information. So here is a landing page design, and firstly you can see a clear divide from the left to the right. The right section here basically has the illustrative artwork displaying context to the design itself. You will not find any key information or call to action buttons here, aside from the toolbar at the top, of course. Now on the left hand side, the title and the text content is grouped together in a neat manner, using good use of proximity. Now below that, there is a call to action which has its own space and is left alone, which basically frees it up to make it easier to be seen by the viewer and thus clicked. And finally, all of the social media icons are below in their own group. On this left hand side, we have 3 different groups that all use neat and valid proximity. Proximity and negative space do have a connection, and both should be taken into account when designing something in terms of the layout. Now, repetition is a key aspect of not only layout design, but just graphic design in general. It helps a design have more continuous theme or look and feel. Repetition can be seen in things like the color scheme used throughout your design, or the use of similar shapes and graphics. Now here is another landing page design, and what kind of repetition can you see in this example? Now firstly, the most striking thing probably would be the color scheme. The color scheme is seen throughout the entire design, from the illustrations into the typography and even the call to action button. Also in the design, you'll notice that the style of the illustrations and the graphics are of the same kind of style throughout. You don't randomly see a gradient style or a 3D graphic. The illustrations are flat and somewhat rustic in nature, all themed around the topic of travel. Repetition is not just about using the same graphics throughout, but think about the same use of typeface, the same use of color, and the same style in general. This will unify your design and make things flow and appear more professional as a whole. The next golden rule for layout design is contrast. And this is something I've mentioned before on this channel, but let's take a quick look to reaffirm the understanding and the importance of it. Contrast simply refers to 2 design elements or aspects that are different in appearance and nature. To create contrast, you can experiment with color, typeface, shape and size. Contrast is very useful for creating a focal point, as well as giving objects greater visual weight and balancing the image. The first aspect of this design that utilizes contrast is the typography at the very top. Now I have the word Satori in a thicker version of the typeface as opposed to the typesetting graphics. This creates interest in the visual aspect of the title. And the next use of contrast is the bottom text here, and this is where the use of red and black is seen, which are 2 contrasting colours, as well as again having different thicknesses in the typography itself. And in terms of shape, the circular icons at the bottom are a contrast to the straight edge line shapes that are found elsewhere in the design, giving them intrigue and a chance to stand out to the viewer. The actual image in the middle of the design is slanted on a tilt, which is a stark contrast to the level straight lines that are horizontal and found throughout the rest of the design. And of course, finally, the entire design utilizes a very contrasting color scheme of black and red, and also white thrown into the mix. Contrast is a great way to create interest and intrigue on your designs, but also it grabs attention and it directs the viewer's eye onto certain aspects of your design. Now, the penultimate golden rule for layout design is alignment. In graphic design, we should always be mindful of alignment. If it's for text, for imagery, or design elements in general, you should always look to align your work professionally and not make the rookie mistake of neglecting alignment. On my example, the first port of alignment is the future text in the central focal point. Now you can draw a vertical line and see that this text is centered properly. Now next to the bottom, the text information is situated neatly along a horizontal line and away from the print edge by a decent amount of space, and this is to keep the design neat and visually appealing. Now also running up the left and the right hand edge, I've adjusted things so that the linear graphic in the background now levels up to these text contents on the sides. However, the white circle with the price tag, and I've left this not aligned properly, and this is to make it stand out more. It's okay to break the rules in some sense, as long as the majority of your design does follow the basic layout rules. The design is still aligned well, despite the price tag being the odd one out, and that's just another form of contrast. The last golden rule of layout design is to use focal points, and I've touched upon focal points many times in the past, so I'm not going to go into detail today. However, a focal point is used on a design to pinpoint the start of a viewer's journey, and it's the main hotspot to grab attention and then to lure them into your design itself. It's almost like a kind of bait if you want to think of it that way. Now a focal point can be a shape, it can be an image, or even just typography itself. And on this example here, what do you deem to be the main focal point of interest? Firstly, it's a stark contrast in terms of colour. It's a dark blue set against a colour scheme of oranges and yellows, which are the complementary colours and the total opposites in the colour wheel. Also, as a design asset, it's very large, taking up a lot of space on the design. And notice how the wing itself is pointing to the title and the text in a sense, which again demonstrates how the viewer's eye can be directed and controlled. You start looking at the wing at the bottom, and then you move your eyesight up towards the text. This is a classic use of focal points in graphic design. So just remember, focal points are areas of dominance, and they do not have to be the main dominant feature. Focal points are areas of interest, emphasis, or difference within a composition that capture or hold the viewer's attention.
So now that we saw the video and we got an understanding of all of the tools and page elements you are going to use in Adobe InDesign, let's discuss the assignments for week 4. First, you'll read in your e-textbook chapters 10 through 11 of the Foundations of Digital Art and Design. You'll also have to complete your Learn It's Type and Image the Grid. Another assignment you will have to complete is the Yellow Dig discussions. There are 2 parts to this discussion, which means you will have to submit 2 separate posts. The first discussion post that you will have to submit is you will have to post your thumbnail sketches and concepts and review other sketches from your classmates. The next portion of the Yellow Dig discussion, which is another post you will create, is to post an image of a promotional flyer that you are inspired by and why. Lastly, you will submit your official promotional flyer in InDesign. So, let's go over the week 4 assignment, which is submitting the official promotional flyer in InDesign. There are 2 separate tutorials for you to reference to when creating your promotional flyer in Adobe InDesign. First, you will watch video 1, Layouts and Sketches, to create 5 to 10 simple layout sketches, and you will submit your rough drafts to Yellow Dig for feedback. Also, you will watch video 2, InDesign Layout, to create a promotional flyer for your event using the logo you created in week 2 and the composite image you created in week 3 combined with a promotional message. Here are some ideas to incorporate. Why should I go to your event? How much does it cost to attend? Where is the event? What is the dress code, if any? And are there any age restrictions? Here's an example of the promotional flyer that Cameron made from the tutorial in this course. So this is his week 4 promotional flyer. Here are also some flyer requirements that you should consider when creating your promotional flyer in InDesign. You will want to, one, incorporate your event logo you created in week 2. The second thing is that you will want to incorporate your composite banner that you created in week 3. You will also want to add some contact information, the price for your event, some event details, including some messaging, also cohesive colors and fonts, as well as a call to action. So let's talk about some reminders for week 4, and we're going to jump into the week 4 to do list. You will have to, one, check out the week 4 overview. Read chapters 10 through 11 of Foundations of Digital Art and Design. Watch the live session replay. This is the live session replay. And also, you can watch the live session replay number 3 a.m. to get some more information on how to use certain tools in the Adobe applications. Also, you're going to have to engage in your Yellow Dig during week 4. This is your initial post that is due August 3rd. Another thing is you will want to earn 1,000 points in Yellow Dig during your week 4 by Sunday, August 7th. Also, by Sunday, August 7th, you will have to complete your Learn It, type in image, the grid, by Sunday at 11:59, as well as submit your activity, which is your official promotional flyer that you created in Adobe InDesign, again by Sunday, August 7th at 11:59. Now, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to me, as I am here to help you and I can provide you with any examples, help you come up with concepts, or also provide you with some references